We can also use to measure the electromyographic activity in a free volunteer view, and then just to demonstrate how it looks. After that, we can try to demonstrate also the BCR therapy as a kind of really effective therapy in different kinds of pain, and there we continue. The talks before often mentioned how important it is to begin with everything. And the beginning is very often just for half. You should start to begin with everything. Also, this old philosopher told, half the beginning is half of everything. And that's the similar thing like you just introduction us that we have to start, we have to begin to collaborate. We will collaborate with Dr. Kampen. We will collaborate with India maybe. You will collaborate with the whole world to solve problems with the people, to help the people, and that's the aim we have all together. And so we should start. Pain should get treated because pain is is the most important enemy of well-being. If there is pain, it's very difficult to relax or to tell us we feel good. Yes, and we know this pain can cause immobility, helplessness, later on social isolation, loneliness, depression, mental and physical inactivation. And this goes on and goes on. And with these psychic symptoms, the pain is increasing. So it's important to find a solution where the patient could get treated at first better. Start to treat the depression to reduce the pain, or start to treat the pain to reduce the depression. Both is possible. And so we find out what's happened with the patient. We should ask the patient and examine the patient to find out the real background, to understand the patient's pain. And that's very often very important for most pain patients to understand the pain. I remember lots of patients who come and told, oh, I have pain like fibromyalgia, for example, since years. Nobody could help me really. If I go to the next doctor, he described me the next painkiller, for example. That's not the solution. When I have a new patient like that one, my first examination takes 1 or 2 hours. And after that, the patient says, so much time nobody spent with me years before. They only had time for a couple of minutes, but they never understood my real problems. And if you have time and understands the patient pain, next day the pain gets less. And that's a very important thing, to work with the patient and not to see the patient as a machine. Pain management, or the basics of pain management in my mind of thought is, it consider pain as a disease, accept the pain as a disease, and then to try together with the patient define objectives of the therapy. Find out what is the best way to start the therapy, on the level of a pain or on the level of a depression, for example. It's a multimodal therapy. Pain can get treated on several pathways, but we find out what is the best for the patient who is just in front of us. Also, don't forget to think interdisciplinary. Use different alternative methods. Try to include in the methods, I introduced the methods we heard today, from stem cell to nutritional therapy to other kinds of therapy, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, all together can get really helpful, but it must get done. And that's again, we have to begin to do this, to combine this. And most important, we have to activate the patient, because he is the main person in the treatment. His pain is important, and not the price of a pill or anything else. Just an example how I try to tell a patient how it works if he has pain, for example. How it works, what's happened in our brain if we have a sudden appearing pain, for example, here in the head. Maybe a fly is sitting here, feels anything, maybe he feels a discomfort like pain. At first, the information from this topic, from this point in the hand, goes to the brain. All the impulses from the peripheral nervous system in the spinal cord go up through the brain, into the brain, and pass several central nervous systems. The first one, it's part of a pain pathway, hypothalamus. there lots of vegetative regulations can get processed. What does it mean? If you have a sudden pain in the hand, for example, you made a mistake when you put in a nail into a wall, for example, and the hammer put your hand, then suddenly you feel, you get hot, it gets warm, you get sweetened suddenly when the pain appeared the first time. And this information was processed in hypothalamus and goes up to the limbic system, and in the limbic system the brain will make a decision, is this pain important for me or not? If it's important for me, maybe, because you have tried anything and made a mistake, then you can say, okay, the next time I'll be more careful and the pain is away. If the pain is not important or is important, this decision will be done in the limbic system. It also can be made a decision, oh, I must do anything to avoid this pain. If there is a fly which can tick you, for example, then you can touch the fly and she's away. And this decision is made then in the motorical and in the sensomotorical cortex. A discrimination, a component of a motor component, and the information goes down again through the spinal cord in the peripheral nervous system to the hand, and the muscles are activated, and you can catch the fly or put the hand away, and the problem is solved. And this mechanism is very strong controlled by so-called inhibitory pathways which regulate the activity, how much power I need to catch the fly, for example. If you have several reasons which can cause pain, then our brain makes a complicated reaction. If we have, for example, one stimulus, the impulses go up to the brain, to several kinds of neurons, and improve reaction. If we have at first one stimulus, we have maybe one reaction. If we have more stimuli and they continue each day continuously, we have more and more activation in the peripheral neurons, in the muscles. And this continuous activation suddenly starts automatically. Then just one stimulus is enough to activate the whole system of information processing of that kind of pain, and the muscles can get painful, or any other target organs can get painful, and this is the pathophysiology of chronic pain. And we know from experiences that it's about 150 stimulations, experimental stimulations. It's something like that, 150 stimuli each day, or every half a year along, and after that period the pain remains and is continued as a chronic pain. And then it's more and more difficult because our brain makes something like a pain memory. We have a pain memory which is stored in different cells of the brain, like we can store in the brain also the pain. You know these phenomena from patients who lost a leg, for example, after an amputation. The patient can feel pain in the leg which is not present. And that's the thing the patient had to learn to clear the pain memory. And the method which enables this is also medical hypnotherapy. Yeah. And so the pain management, by my point of view, is try to understand the patient and accept the pain. Tell him, oh, so how you described me, your situation, your life, and all the things which were important in your life maybe, then I can imagine it must be painful. And if you tell this to the patient, the doors are open to do anything against this pain. And it works much better than to prescribe him a next medication, for example. Develop a model of individual pain pathophysiology that helps the patient to understand the pain. He should get an understanding why it's painful, why his muscles in fibromyalgia, for example, are painful. Because only if he understands the mechanisms which cause the pain, he can try to do anything by himself, to activate or to develop self-regulatory processes using biofeedback or hypnotherapy to give him a chance to do anything self against the brain. Train the patient to do those specific action against the pain. Train him to do this every day, several times a day. to perform conditioning processes. The software told today in the morning should get developed, but with each training session this software is updated, and so the patient learns to do something against his pain. Also pain diary. Pain diaries are very important possibilities where the patient can record how he feels today, how painful it is, on a pain scale from 0 to 10, for example. Just make a note how he feels today. So you can overview a long time, and you can see if the therapies you used for these patients were helpful or not. Because if a patient feels well, he forgets how the pain was in the past. But if he feels good for a couple of weeks, for example, and suddenly a pain occurred by any other reason, he really forgets that he feels better maybe any weeks before. And that's important to make recordings using pain diaries. They exist. You can find them in the internet. Each pharmaceutical company provides these, and so it's a very important instrument for documentation of the individual situation in the pain. Pain management, the main patient groups are tension type headache, muscle pain, neck, shoulders, fibromyalgia, and the training methods in these kind of patients is, for example, IMG, biofeedback, or hypnotherapy. And that's the thing we could demonstrate the IMG, how it works, to see if he can relax the muscles. It's a patient, you see what's happened with her shoulders have a very big distance. They are wrong. Nobody before. She had pain in the headache, headache pain, and went from doctor to doctor, went to several therapists, but nobody asked her, Dr. Schön, I must look to your shoulders. They got prescriptions for MRT, for any other medical investigations, and she got prescriptions for painkillers, for antidepressives, but nobody looked to her that there is a difference in the shoulder. Independent if she is standing or sitting. And maybe that is the reason for headache. And it's a phenomenon in our work that we have lots of people with shaky shoulders which are different left and right sided. And most of them are female. What do the most females? They carry their handy bag over her shoulder, and if they are in the supermarket, they should avoid that it slips down. They go so, from a day so. Maybe a mobile phone that way also. And if you do it long enough, it gets pain. Well, and ladies' bags are not easy, they are really heavy sometimes. No? You smile, it's true. So this lady learned to control her muscle activities, left and right-sided, along the spinal cord, and on the shoulders, using biofeedback. She has seen the muscles were activated unsymmetrically, and the muscle tone, also when she told, I am relaxed, you could see that she was not relaxed. And then I go behind her and corrected her position in the right way, and asked her how it feels, and she told, oh, it feels wrong. Because the brain made a software, a conditioning process, that this situation was accepted as normal. But the reason for this is pain, headache. And now she learned to remember every day to stand normal, upright. And it took only half a week. She feels it got better with her headache. And I asked her, try to use a backpack, because it's easier for the shoulders and for the muscle activations. And she did it, and the pain really disappeared. Yeah. You see, and that's the situation. So it looks, the electrodes are placed on the corresponding muscles, and reference electrode, and that didn't take long. She was in a correct position and could smile because the headache disappeared. That's a patient, also tension type headache, and here was a problem that he very often was very strange. He focused everything using the muscles in the face, and he was very strong activated in his head, and he had also bruxism, the muscles in this place here were hyperactivated, and which is causing headache. And he learned to control the activity in the masseter muscles and in the frontal muscles of the head. And he controlled this on the screen, and it doesn't take longer than a week or two, and he reports the pain gets less. And the thing he was observing on the screen was the left and right-sided activities in the frontal region of his head, and he has seen that on one side the muscles were really high activated, on the other side they were normal. And then he had to learn to normalize under continuous biofeedback that these two curves comes together and keep in a relaxed activity below 3 or 4 microvolts. Then we know the muscles are relaxed, and if they are symmetrically relaxed, there is no reason for headache pain. And another kind of pain management is in migraine patients. Migraine patients exist in every clinic, everywhere, all over the world, and everywhere there are 10 to 15% of the patients have headache. Who has migraine headache? 10% should have migraine headache, if the statistics are wrong, correct. Nobody? Maybe? Yeah. Also a man also? Yeah. And that's why anything should get done to give a biofeedback of a mechanism how migraine headache appears. And from the pathophysiological research in migraine we know that after activation of brainstem neurons, the trigeminal-muscular system in the brain is activated, and this causes a dilatation of subdural blood vessels. Blood vessels on the surface of the brain suddenly go wider and wider, the blood vessels walls get thinner and thinner, and so substance can pass through the dilated blood vessels and can contact the surface of the brain, and that's the mechanism for the increasing pain in this group of patients. If a patient with mechanisms got told and he understood the mechanisms, and maybe by himself he concluded if it's really the background for my pain mechanisms in the brain, then I should try to do anything to make a vasoconstriction, to keep the blood vessels together in a tight position. And that's the thing with pharmaceuticals which exist on the market. Group of triptans, for example, do on a pharmaceutical way very effective, but the patient will learn to do it by themselves. And then they can use their thoughts to remember anything which can cause a vasoconstriction. And now you must give feedback to the patient. He must see if it works, or if it not works, then he must improve his methods to learn this. And therefore we use a photoplatismographic measurement of the arteria temporalis, the frontal artery here, very easy. The diameter can get measured using optical methods with infrared light beams, and after that the patient can see the online changings in his corresponding artery system. It looks like that. Here the sensors are applied on the arteria temporalis, and she sees on the screen a symbolic red cycle which changes the diameter corresponding to her life condition or life situation. And now she learns, I must remember any thoughts to make a vasoconstriction, to keep the blood vessels together. And now the brain makes a conditioning process, stores the software on the brain hard disk in the auto start segment of the hard disk, maybe, so that the brain can remember automatically when the patient feels, oh, it looks like I can get a migraine attack within the next hours. The migraine patients feel this in most of situations. Then the software starts automatically, make the vasoconstriction, and all the pathophysiological mechanisms which cause the pain cannot disappear or cannot act. So the sensor looks, it's just a placement of an infrared light beam and an infrared receptor who measures the diameter of his vessels. She's also learning it, and the settings are so that the patient looks to a screen or a wall where we can see what he's doing. Here we see a very hard vasoconstriction. She learned really to put the blood vessels together. I sit in front of my notebook, can control it and take her like a trainer in the sport through the therapeutic session. And then she learns and learns more and more. And you know it needs approximately 10 sessions till the software is finished and implemented in the brain. So it looks, here we can see the kinds of how there's a constriction, how the diameter of these vessels can get changed. It's a therapeutic session of 6 vasoconstrictions, vasoconstriction 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Between them all the vasoconstrictions are about 3 minutes. Then there is a minute rest, in the middle a little bit longer rest again. And here we see after this first information, just try to remember the thoughts you learn to make vasoconstriction, and the vessels get tightened. And then relax again. And we see the longer she is doing it, the more the blood vessels can get constricted. This patient used the combined application of PCR with method which can influence the metabolic situation in the corresponding tissues, and medical hypnotherapy. He had tension type headache plus ear noises, the tinnitus, and he is in deep hypnotic state. He doesn't feel the electrical currency applied by the PCR system, and so he can do both together. It shares time and it works both together very good. So he is in a situation where he can get influenced by hypnotic suggestions, by informations I tell him, and the microcurrent makes his job alone. This is a combined application of EMG and electrodermal recording during medical hypnotherapy. In a patient with tension type headache, he is also in deep hypnotic state. He cannot move his arms or his legs, or his eyes are so closed he cannot open them. And the sensor is fitted on the arm and on the finger, the EMG sensors on the corresponding places, and then he is in this state where it's done with again both together, biofeedback and hypnotherapy. That's just a short introduction on the kind of pain management, or how I understand pain management. As a successful pain management needs time. Especially the first visit with this patient needs time to give him the chance to understand why I have pain. Then the patient must keep kept seriously. Patients must understand the symptoms and diseases, and several methods can get applied together. And also further methods can get included in further therapies. Maybe nutritional therapies, maybe other non-medicationals like acupuncture, and all what helps is work to get continued. That's to that point of pain management. Now I would make a short demonstration just to show you how it works. Let's change the beamer. Yeah, here it is. It's the other one. And what I now need would be a volunteer who has interest to do it. Very interesting.
This surgery, migraine,
I have almost everything you talk about.
Sit down, please.
migraine headaches every day.
You also can use to show you the diameter of your arterial temporalis. It's another possibility. It's easy to change the sensor.
After 2 back surgery with 90-sectomy, migraine every day, so...
Then I use an infrared light beam sensor, and I place him on your artery.
9 discectomies. 9.
Then the doctor see my MRI, they say I'm not supposed to be active.
And place the amplifier, he measures the signal and sends the signal via Bluetooth, to the computer, And I start the corresponding software just to see if it really works. And if a sensor is placed straight over the artery, and the thing we should see should be at first his blood volume pulse curve. Each heartbeat, the volume which is moved through the vessel. And we should see if it works, how his heart can transport with each beat blood volume through all the vessels. It is wireless. And for this kind of therapy, of course, the patient must have a biofeedback. That's why I told you it was free. It takes a couple of minutes or seconds because the amplifier now connects with the receiver, this yellow part, and then the signal will be present. The thing I can do just, although, let's wait a couple of minutes. You have migraine headache just now?
Now,
How often? How often?
every day.
Every day.
But I really see it
Every day you
nowadays.
take any medications?
I'm doing trigger points pushing
Yeah.
and then meditation.
Yeah.
I'm breathing into the muscle.
And is it helpful?
100%. I didn't take any pills for the last.
Helpful means the pain should disappear and not repeat it every day.
The pain disappear, but it's coming usually or in the middle of the night or
Yeah.
when I under big tension.
The software is of course available in English as well.
I have the German roots, but I don't understand Deutsch. My grandma and my father,
Yeah.
German.
I had to restart because we disconnected in the lunch rest the beamer from the notebook and it often caused the typical Windows problem that shuts down. Now we restarted it and now we will find the amplifier and the sensor. The system is searched, installed, and the next step will be its phone.
Could his phone be affecting if he has a phone on him? It could affect the,
Because maybe if anybody has the phones
My
activated,
phone, I have nothing on me.
but now if we found that it will start. Because the system is looking for Bluetooth sensors. And all the mobiles where Bluetooth is activated, now we'll check.
I see.
That's why it took longer than regularly. Yeah. But the numbers are not recorded.
But if it's in the office, you want the phone off of the patient?
Normally, yes. Now we should see the blood volume pulse as next. And it shows each heartbeat, like blood volume is transported through his arterial temporalis. If I make it faster, See, and now we have to know that the amplitude under each signal corresponds with the diameter of a blood vessel. And if it's wide, that's the mechanism which can cause migraine headache. So the patient has to learn to reduce the amplitude. And that's easier to learn if we transform the signal into one which is didactically better for learning, just with red cycle, where we can learn to make a vasoconstriction. So I go back and go in the therapeutic sessions. Here we find migraine, we find also hypertension, tension-type headache, back pain, tinnitus, bruxism, morbus Raynaud, the cold finger syndrome. All of these can get used, can be treated using this method, and incontinence as well. Some females exist with incontinence, problems, urinary incontinence, and there exists a special sensor which the patient, the female, can learn to activate the concluding muscles in the region where the bladder is controlled. Now I choose migraine, and now this red cycle will appear, and I would ask you to try everything at first to relax. I can adapt the diameter here, and you should try really to relax. Now, the cycle will change automatically on online in the same way like this arterial system is doing this. And when he starts to relax, the diameter should get wide. Okay, adapt the amplification. And normally, this first step of adaptation should take 5 minutes, where the patient really learns to see, can he relax. And after that, I remember the things we told and discussed before. Try to find any thoughts. And now it's a question to you. Remember any things where you think, when I think to this, I have a feeling everybody or everything in my body will get. Try to make a constriction, like just by thoughts. You see, it's working. You can remember any ideas which cause constriction of a blood vessel. More. And during the training session, I have to be really the trainer, like in the sport. Yeah, I give him a feedback and tell him it's good. More. Check more ideas, for example.
Is it more ideas that relax him, or they give him a sense of
No, it's not a relaxation. It's just an idea. Maybe I remember a pupil, 11 years old, could do it within the first session. And I told him, what do you thought? How did you do this? And he told me, I just remembered my teacher. And he couldn't like this teacher. And so he remembered the teacher and could make this vasoconstriction, for example. Remember a situation maybe associated with coldness.
You want me to relax or get more?
No, I want to do nothing. You should try anything. Put this cycle together. Because then, if you learn this, the mechanisms against migraine are activated. Or try to constrict, try to put the cycle together and hold him together for 3 minutes. And that's not easy. Because always, if you have an idea which can realize this, the idea disappears. And so he has to learn.
Is he actually controlling this right now?
Yes, yes.
With his brain
With his thoughts. Yeah.
Oh, he's actually controlling this circle right now?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, do you know?
I try to meditate myself to release the
No,
muscle.
that's wrong. During the headache, migraine headache, meditation or relaxation can improve the pain. Because the brain vessels get tightened, get wider and wider. And the mechanisms which cause the pain increase. You should say exactly the opposite. What could be very exciting for you?
So watching
Very
football,
disappointing for you, anything you don't like.
So anything, Mr. Beer, which would help you make the circle smaller
Yes.
is the good thought.
Yes, it's the thing he has to learn, like a pill who makes vasoconstriction against migraine. It's good. More. Don't continue your thoughts. It's difficult to keep the thoughts aware. More. Good. And every time if it will get wider, remember your thoughts, activate or increase with thoughts. And that's the thing, implement in a specific training system, which consists of 3 minutes vasoconstriction, 1 minute relaxation, 3 minutes vasoconstriction again, and all together about approximately 40 minutes. And it's very hard. After that, the patient is really exhausted. Try to do it once more. Think on everything which you do not like. Maybe any people you do not like, you never will see them. Oh, okay. It works. And yes, and now try the opposite. Try to relax. And it gets wider. And that's the reaction of his brain by self-regulatory processes in his mind. And so he had to learn to do anything against the mechanisms which cause migraine headache. And this now has to get repeated nearly 10 times, and then the software will start automatically when he feels the next headache attack will come. And relaxation, like you told, is effective every time in migraine headaches patient when the headache is away. If you are free of headache, then relaxation could be helpful to block the mechanisms which improve the next headache attack. If the headache is present, relaxation is counterproductive.
For me, how I do it, I push in the trigger point, running the blood, and then activate.
During the headache,
Open and relax.
it's not the best possibility. It could be much better and much less headache if you do it alone. So this is just a demonstration how this could be done. I
So
stop
do you
this.
think if he knows that driving a motorcycle very fast will make him under
Something
stress
like
and
that, for
focus?
example, yeah. And the other thing,
Yeah, we're thinking now about driving the car fast. That's what makes it swing.
Yeah. Good. I try to measure the peripheral.
Because he's trying to entrain a pattern so that when the next attack comes, his
Yeah.
brain is already entrained to go to driving the car fast.
You are left or right hander?
Right in there.
Then I take the left arm, place the center. Oh, sorry.
Just 3-1 would be
Like
fine.
that. This setup measures the skin conductance activity, the skin temperature, and the peripheral blood flow. Just keep it so in an easy position, in a relaxed position. I start again.
So his brain took on a mechanism that hurts him,
Yes.
and it's become a pattern that he's used to, and it will resort to it every time.
Yep.
And you're just trying to break that default,
Yep.
so the next time it happens, it resorts to the opposite, by continually training him to break that pattern.
That's the back problem.
So it's post-traumatic
Yeah.
stress disorder is being
Yeah.
reversed. So this could be used for a man who is traumatic brain injury from war or something.
Lots of possibilities.
So PTSD
Yeah.
has tremendous potential for every man.
And here we see now his peripheral blood flow into the fingers, the peripheral bleeding. We see the skin temperature. It takes 1-2 minutes till the temperature is adapted to the sensor. Now it's approximately 29.8 degrees. It's increasing. And now the yellow curve is the electrodermal activity. Try anything to remember, meditation, for example, try to relax. You see, the electrodermal activity suddenly increased because he followed up my instruction, oh, I should relax. before relaxation can get produced by the brain, first there is an activation. And we see when he remembered I should do something, it was a kind of stress suddenly appeared. The peripheral blood flow get less and less. And now he is able to relax. He continues, the electrodermal activity gets less and less, and the amplitude of the peripheral blood flow is rising. Keep your eyes closed.
Because when he gets stressed, he's trying to move his blood central to his
The
core.
thing I just want to do, because this question, this word, you have seen it was his reaction on your words. You know. Try to relax, we are quiet. He can really good relax. He has experience in meditation. Anything besides just thought. Keep on relaxation, you do it very well. Now, make also a mathematical calculation, 212 minus 18, and so on. This mental stress suddenly appeared. Go back, we can stop calculation, and now we can come down again, because it's very easy for him to relax. A pain patient or a patient with depression wouldn't relax so fast after this stress. You heard just by telling him to calculate by the head. If you see how dramatically it increased and now it comes very fast down. The temperature now reached nearly 30 degrees. It's a little bit higher as in Europe, but it's dependent on the regions. And we see again peripheral blood flow is excellent. Chronic stress patient had chronically reduced peripheral blood flow. So in chronic stress and chronic pain, they can get cardiovascular problems caused by the stress. And if this the patient is described and he understood the mechanism of this, he has a very high motivation to learn anything, to relax, to normalize blood flow, to feel better. He can it really excellent, and now each stress causes an increase in electrodermal activity. You see also, the better he was relaxed, the peripheral blood flow increased, and when the blood flow increased, the temperature is increasing. Now we have nearly 31 degrees at the moment. And these are all the information which can get used for a patient who is doing biofeedback. If he is, for example, interested, how is my temperature, then I can show it just to him on the screen. So he can see his actual temperature, and he can learn to increase the temperature or to decrease the temperature, dependent on the task or on the situation or on the symptoms he has. The thing he really can do, he close his eyes and can relax. During biofeedback therapy, he shouldn't close the eyes because he has no feedback. For learning processes, for conditioning processes, he must see how his body reacts. And that's the thing the patient can learn very fast. And the patient like this because they can observe how their body is functioning. What's happening in the body if stress appears. And if he then remembers what stress can cause in daily living, for example, then he has an own answer, maybe for the headache in the evening or for cold hands in the evening because the stress is high the whole day. And then he has to do learnings. And that's just a short demonstration, and he made it perfectly. Thank you so much for demonstrating us here. Any questions more? Just related to this technique. And the thing we also could do, we can apply electrodes like this on the muscles, on the neck, on the spinal cord, in the face, where the problems are located, and can measure the EMG. So then the morning I showed you the green EMG data, And the similar thing could get recorded online and could get seen by the patient online as well. It's really important. Yeah.
So is it correct by saying that when you give him the stimulus, his vagal tone goes up,
Yeah.
his cortisol goes up, his epinephrine goes up, blood vessels squeeze? And you can be opposite, cortisol drops, growth hormone goes up, nitric oxide goes up, and everything relaxes.
Like in the light.
Vagal tone drops.
Can you lie? Lie? You can. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
He's already started thinking what we should lie about.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell them you're 18 years old.
Okay. We should to the end of this demonstration. If you would like, we could also make a demonstration of PCR. Do we have time to let on today?
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.